If you love red wine and also strawberry fruit roll-ups or just strawberries in general, well, this is going to be the wine for you. We are kicking off this shipment with a wine that I am pretty sure you probably haven't seen before. It's super small production, but it has quickly evolved into one of my favorites. I'm talking about the Vinos Finos Sabroso 2022 red wine. This is coming from the Central Coast, and if you can't tell from the label, this wine really leans into a love of strawberries. This is a blend. Let me go ahead and pour it in the glass. And if you can see on your screen, this bottle is pretty low already. That's because I dug into it, not only for the episode, but also just for life, because it is just so stinking delicious. So a little bit about this wine. Like I said, very, very small production from renowned sommelier Ted Glennon. This is all coming from California. It is a blend. It's going to be comprised of, I'm going to read it off here, 47% Grenache, 35% Cabernet Pfeffer. Talk about that in a second. 18% Zinfandel, and it is only going to see a little bit of oak for 5 months, which means it's going to have a really fresh, vibrant character. It's not going to be inundated with a lot of those toasty, woody notes. All we're going to get is pure fruit here. So Cabernet Pfeffer, a grape that you don't see all that often, but a really fun grape that every now and then when it's thrown into a blend, we love it for some of its savory qualities that it's offering. You can definitely feel it in this glass. Now, if it's not poured for you already, if you haven't opened this wine and you are thinking about having it for dinner, thinking about having it for a meal, my first recommendation to you, first and foremost, is going to be get this wine in the fridge. This is what we're going to refer to as a chillable red wine, meaning this is a red wine that really benefits from being a little on the colder side. Now, I think most red wines are served a little too warm, right? I think all red wines can benefit from being a little bit colder than they're normally served. But this one in particular is one, because of that freshness, because of that vibrancy and the way that it's made, really benefits from being a little bit chilled down. Also, I am serving this in a universal wine glass. This is my favorite. This is the Gabrielle glass. But if I were you, I would definitely be looking at something like a smaller vessel. Something like a white wine glass would be delicious with this. A tumbler would be totally fine. But if you wanted to go a little bit bigger, I would say burgundy glass. So it's going to be the wider base glass with the thinner on top. You don't want a Bordeaux glass. It will work. It'll be fine. This is going to be a wine that really leans into that light to medium bodied side of things and really benefits from a glass that supports that, which of course is going to be the burgundy glass. All right, let's taste it. So as soon as you pick up this glass, stick your nose in there. You should be getting two things. One, strawberries. I'm talking out the wazoo here. I mean, it's a little bit of bias because, of course, it's suggestive on the label, and on the back of it, it says the wine that bursts with strawberry notes. It does. It just comes out of the glass, hitting, packing, and this is open for a few days now, and I'm still getting all of those great strawberry notes. When I first opened this wine, even more so. So this is a wine that really leans into that side of things. And for me, because this is going to be a California wine, this is a wine that definitely leans on the fruitier side of strawberries. So if we think about the quality of different fruit profiles and different wines, warmer climate areas are going to give you more of that jammy, vibrant, more ripe style of fruit as opposed to cooler climate, which typically gives you more of that tart style fruit. So because we're dealing with warmer climate, you're definitely getting that sort of strawberry roll up, a little bit more of that Kirschy style of strawberries. It's definitely not too much though. I would not call this a jammy wine by any means. It's just very fruity. It's very fun. The other thing that you should be getting as you smell this is an enormous amount of salinity. You should be smelling like salt breeze air, as if someone took a strawberry fruit roll up and sprinkled a little bit of Maldon salt. Doesn't that sound delicious? Sprinkled a little Maldon salt on there. You rolled it up and then you had that sort of salty, fruity thing going on. And this is so alluring to me because I think Grenache on its own is really, really fun wine. It always gives you all of those strawberry notes, both on the nose and on the palate. But what I love is the addition of Cabernet Pfeffer here. It's not a grape that's related to Cabernet Sauvignon, but it is a grape, like I said, that gives you something a little bit more earthy and savory. And I think that's really what we're getting out of this wine. And then, of course, you have the addition of the Zinfandel, which is kind of beefing everything up. It's tying it all together with that really gorgeous sort of blueberry backbone, and it's lending itself to the overall fruit component of this wine. So much fun. I could spend all day smelling this glass, but why would we when we can drink it? Mm. Okay. Now, I said at the beginning, if you're a fan of red wine and strawberry fruit roll-ups, this is the wine for you. And I stand by that. I think this is a wine that if you were a kid and like you were so excited to open your lunchbox and see a strawberry fruit roll-up in there, this is a wine that you're like, I have to buy many bottles of this. And that was me. I'm totally into this. But I think the other thing that I get from this wine is this really soft approach. So if you're also someone that loves a wine that doesn't lean into really intense tannins, meaning that dryness that you're getting around your mouth, if you don't love that intense structure of a wine, if you just want something that's really quaffable, that's really easy to drink, this is a wine for you. And as I said, this is only aged in oak for about 5 months, which means it's really leaning on the fruitiness and the softness of the character of the fruit. It's not going to be leaning into that oak, which is going to give you more of that structure and more of that tannin. So again, fruit, soft profile, really easy, gentle style of wine. This is going to be the one for you. I do have a chill in this wine. I think it's delicious. If you're not into the chilled wine thing, no worries. This is a wine that's still going to be really, really lovely. It's really interesting as this wine has been open for several days now. When I first had it, it was a wine that was very, very fruit dominant. It really leaned into those salty, fruity strawberry notes. But now as it's been open, which you can leave it open if you want, you don't have to. What I love is that this really has evolved into some of those more savory characteristics that you're getting from the Cabernet Pfeffer. So don't be afraid to open this wine, have a glass, put a stopper in it, of course, whether that's something like this or if it's the actual cork, put it back in the fridge. You definitely don't want to leave it open because too much oxygen is a bad thing, but put it back in there, limit the amount of oxygen that's going in there, and then put it back into the fridge so that it's not oxidizing too quickly, and then revisit it over the course of several days. I think this is a really, really fun wine because it is a blend and different things are going to poke out at different times. The Zinfandel component of it, it's really just there to support. If you're not a Zinfandel fan, I would say this is probably still going to be a wine for you, mostly because I am not the biggest Zinfandel fan. I think I've talked about that on the podcast before. I've talked about it with the other Zinfandel, the Nalazin that we had on previous shipment. And I really love that wine, but Zinfandel is generally not a grape that I gravitate towards. So this definitely leans heavy into the Grenache side of things. It lends itself with the savory profile from the Cabernet Pfeffer, and it's just an overall delicious, delicious wine. I'm going to be drinking this one with Anthony Gilio on our Food and Wine Festival episode. This is going to be an episode all about the different food and wine festivals across the country, which ones are right for you, which ones are exciting, which ones are new, and of course, where you can find different styles of wines. There are different food and wine festivals all around the country that do different things. But one of the things that I love is that it's always an opportunity for you to discover new producers, meet new friends, meet winemakers. And I think this is a perfect example of a wine that you might actually find at a food and wine festival because oftentimes these wines don't really make it out of the places that they're made. And so a lot of producers will do the food and wine festival thing to reach new potential customers in a direct way. So this is a perfect example of that, a really fun wine that's of course suited for food and wine festivals in that capacity, but also just a great wine to have on hand at home as we're moving into and out of the winter months. Please God, let that be sooner rather than later. And a great chillable red all around. So if you're drinking this, enjoy in good health and feel free to have it with some food, but you certainly don't have to. Cheers.